Enter the Wu-Tang is the debut album of American hip-hop group Wu-Tang Clan, released November 9, 1993, on Loud Records and distributed through RCA Records. Recording sessions for the album took place during 1992 to 1993 at Firehouse Studio in New York City, and it was mastered at the Hit Factory. The album's title originates from the martial arts film The 36th Chamber of Shaolin. The group's de facto leader RZA, also known as Prince Rakeem, produced the album entirely, utilizing heavy, eerie beats and a sound largely based on martial arts movie clips and soul music samples. The distinctive sound of Enter the Wu-Tang created a blueprint for hardcore hip-hop during the 1990s and helped return New York City hip-hop to national prominence. Its sound also became greatly influential in modern hip-hop production, while the group members' explicit, humorous, and free-associative lyrics have served as a template for many subsequent hip-hop records. Serving as a landmark record in the era of hip-hop known as the East Coast Renaissance, its influence helped lead the way for several other East Coast hip-hop artists, including Nas, the Notorious B.I.G., Mobb Deep, and Jay-Z. Despite its raw, underground sound, the album had surprising chart success, peaking at number 41 on the U.S. Billboard 200 chart. By 1995, it was certified platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America, and has sold over 2 million copies in the United States. Initially receiving positive reviews from most music critics, Enter the Wu-Tang is widely regarded as one of the most significant albums of the 1990s, as well as one of the greatest hip-hop albums ever. In 2003, it was ranked number 386 on Rolling Stone magazine's list of the 500 greatest albums of all time. Background and recording: in the late 1980s, cousins Robert Diggs, Gary Grice, and Russell Jones formed a group named Force of the Imperial Master, also known as the All In Together Now Crew. Each member recorded under an alias, Grice as the Genius, Diggs as Prince Rakeem or the Scientist, and Jones as the Specialist. The group never signed to a major label, but caught the attention of the New York rap scene and was recognized by rapper Biz Markie. By 1991, the Genius and Prince Rakeem were signed to separate record labels. The Genius released Words from the Genius on Cold Shaolin Records and Prince Rakeem released Do I Love You Rakeem on Tommy Boy Records. Both were soon dropped by their labels. Embittered but unbowed, they took on new monikers and refocused their efforts. RZA discussed the matter in their release The Wu-Tang Manual, stating, "Tommy Boy made the decision to sign House of Pain over us. When they dropped me, I was thinking, damn, they chose a bunch of white boy shit over me." RZA began collaborating with Dennis Coles, better known as Ostface Killer, another rapper from the Stapleton Project's apartment complex in Staten Island. The duo decided to create a hip-hop group whose ethos would be a blend of Eastern philosophy picked up from kung fu movies, watered-down Nation of Islam preaching picked up on the New York streets, and comic books. Enter the Wu-Tang was recorded at Firehouse Studio in New York City from 1992 to 1993. The album was produced, mixed, arranged, and programmed by RZA, and was mastered at the Hit Factory in New York City by Chris Gouringer. Because of an extremely limited budget, the group was only able to record in a small, inexpensive studio. With up to 8 of the 9 Wu-Tang members in the studio at once, the quarters were frequently crowded. To decide who appeared on each song, RZA forced the Wu-Tang rappers to battle with each other. This competition led to the track Meth vs. Chef, a battle between Method Man and Raekwon over the rights to rap over RZA's beat. This track was left off the Wu-Tang Clan's debut album but surfaced on Method Man's debut, Title. Title significance: the true meaning of the album's title is not well known or understood. According to a 5% philosophy, known as the Supreme Mathematics, the number 9 means to bring into existence, and this meant everything to the group's debut album. The group was made of 9 members, each of whom had 4 chambers of the heart, which are 2 atria, and 2 ventricles. All of this is the root for 36 chambers, being that 9x4 equals 36. In reference to the 1978 kung fu film The 36th Chamber of Shaolin that the group enjoyed watching, The Clan considered themselves as lyrical masters of the 36 chambers, and arrived onto the rap scene while appearing to be ahead, and more advanced over, others, with knowledge of 36 chambers of hip-hop music when everyone else in hip-hop was striving to attain the knowledge of 35 lessons. Also, while the human body has 108 pressure points, only the Wu-Tang martial artists learned and understood that 36 of those pressure points are deadly. The lyrics and rhymes of the 9 members are to be considered as 36 deadly lyrical techniques for pressure points. All of this is the basis for the album title, Enter the Wu-Tang, being that 9 members x 4 chambers equals 36. However, this is just a theory. The true significance of the title is not definitively known. Music and lyrics, production. Group leader RZA produced Enter the Wu-Tang by creating sonic collages from classic soul samples and clips from martial arts movies such as Shaolin and Wu-Tang. He complemented the rappers' performances with lean, menacing beats that evoked their gritty, urban surroundings more effectively than their words, according to Stephen Thomas Aliwi of AllMusic. The use of soul samples and various esoteric clips, and the technique by which RZA employed them in his beats, was unique and largely unprecedented in hip-hop. The gritty sound of Enter the Wu-Tang is due, at least in part, to the use of cheap equipment to produce the album. Many critics argue that the minimalist means of production plays directly into the appealing street quality that makes the album a classic, including Ben Yu, who stated, "Because RZA didn't have the best mixing or recording equipment. The album is wrought with a dirty quality. The drums have more bass and are more hard-hitting than they are crisp and clean. The samples have an eerie, almost haunting type of echo. And the vocals, because each member's voice is already aggressive and gritty, perfectly match the production." Although Ol' Dirty Bastard is given co-production credit on Da Mystery of Chess Boxin', and Method Man is co-credited for Wu-Tang Clan Ain't Nothing Ta Wet, critics and admirers universally credit RZA with developing a dusty yet digital production style that helped legitimize the use of more diverse sample sources to the hardcore New York rap massive, breaking away from James Brown-based beats and embracing a style that turned the underdog theme into the menacing coda for a group of underground terrorists. Lyrics: Enter the Wu-Tang ushered in a new standard for hip-hop at a time when hip-hop music was dominated by the jazz-influenced styles of A Tribe Called Quest, the Afrocentric viewpoints of Public Enemy, and the rising popularity of West Coast gangster rap. The album's explicit, humorous and free-associative lyrics have been credited for serving as a template for many subsequent hip-hop records. Rolling Stone described the album as possessing an aesthetic that was low on hype and production values, and high on the idea that indigence is a central part of blackness. While the lyrical content on Enter the Wu-Tang generally varies from rapper to rapper, the basic themes are the same: urban life, martial arts movies, comic book references, and marijuana, and the setting is invariably the harsh environment of New York City. The lyrics have a universally dark tone and seem at times to be simply aggressive cries. AllMusic contributor Steve Huey praises the lyricists for their originality and caustic humor, stating some were outsized, theatrical personalities, others were cerebral storytellers and lyrical technicians, but each had his own distinctive style. Every track on Enter the Wu-Tang is packed with fresh, inventive rhymes, which are filled with martial arts metaphors, pop culture references, bizarre threats of violence, and a truly twisted sense of humor. With the exception of Method Man, and GZA's Clan in Da Front, every song features multiple rappers contributing verses of varying lengths. The verses are essentially battle rhymes, mixed with humor and outsized tales of urban violence and drug use. There is some debate about whether the lyrics on 36 Chambers are properly classified as gangster rap or something else entirely. In a Stylus magazine review, writer Gavin Mueller evokes the bleakness of the Wu-Tang worldview. He lyrics reach back to New York's own Rakim, dense battle rhymes potent with metaphors. Each Wu MC links his rhymes to crime and violence, allowing his preoccupations to surface subtly and indirectly, rather than spouting off overt gangsterisms designed to shock. The hood imagery of the lyrics is utterly pervasive and uncompromising, immersing the listener in a foreign land smack in the middle of New York. There is no celebration here, and little hope. All 9 original Wu-Tang Clan members contribute vocals on Enter the Wu-Tang. Master Killer only appears on one track, contributing the last verse of Da Mystery of Chess Boxin', but all the other rappers appear on at least 2 songs. Method Man and Raekwon are the most prolific of the group, featured on 8 tracks. Though the performers have widely differing techniques, the chemistry between them is a key ingredient of the album's success. Pitchfork Media asserts that half the charm is in the cast's idiosyncrasies: ODB's hovering sing-song, Raekwon's fake stutter, Ostface's verbal tics, Method Man's hazy, dusted voice. Singles, Protect Ya Neck, and Tears were the first tracks recorded by the Wu-Tang Clan. Protect Ya Neck is a free-associative and braggadocious battle rap featuring 8 of the 9 Wu-Tang members, and Tears tells stories of a little kid getting shot, and another one who contracts HIV after having unprotected sex. They were independently released as the Protect Ya Neck / After Laughter Comes Tears single, which RZA financed by demanding $100 from each rapper who wanted a verse on the A-side. The single was re-released in a much larger pressing, with Method Man as the B-side. Method Man reached number 69 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 17 on the Billboard Hot Rap Tracks chart. Method Man gained significant airplay partly for its catchy refrain, which copies the refrain of Hall & Oates' Method of Modern Love. CREAM, featuring Raekwon and Inspector Deck, was the second single from the album and the first new A-side to be released after the group signed with Loud RCA. Its lyrics deal with the struggle of poverty and the desire to earn money by any means. It was the Wu-Tang Clan's most successful single, reaching number 60 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 8 on the Hot Rap Tracks chart. The single topped the Hot Dance Music Maxi Singles Sales chart. Can It Be All So Simple, featuring Ostface Killer and Raekwon, was the album's 3rd single. The single failed to chart on the Billboard Hot 100, but reached number 24 on the Hot Rap Tracks chart in 1994. A remix of the song was included on Raekwon's debut solo album Only Built for Cuban Links. The group made music videos for the 3 A-sides and for Method Man, Da Mystery of Chess Boxin', and Wu-Tang Clan Ain't Nothing Ta Fuck With. As the group's profile increased, the quality of their videos improved. Though the Protect Ya Neck video resembled a home movie, later videos were directed by rising hip-hop music video director Hype Williams. The videos received almost no airplay on MTV, but were extremely popular on video by request channels such as The Box. Tura Copyright wrote in his 1993 Rolling Stone review that in Brooklyn, New York, right now and extending back a few months, the reigning fave is the Wu-Tang Clan, who are to the channel what Guns N' Roses are to MTV. Reception. Initial reaction. Upon its release, Enter the Wu-Tang received positive reviews from most music critics. In an article for The Source, the Ghetto Communicator wrote, "This record is harsh, but so is the world that we live in. For b-boys and girls who come from the core of the hard, this is the hip-hop album you've been waiting for." Rolling Stone's review was decidedly ambivalent, praising the album's sound, but noting that Wu-Tang are more ciphers than masterful creations. In refusing to commodify themselves, they leave blank the ultimate canvas the self. Entertainment Weekly was more enthusiastic, giving the album an A, and writing that with its rumble-jumble of drum beats, peppered with occasional piano plunking, Enter has a raw, pass-the-mic flavor we haven't heard since rap was pop's best-kept secret. In his Consumer Guide for the Village Voice, critic Robert Christgau gave the album an A rating, indicating the kind of garden-variety good record that is the great luxury of musical micro-marketing and overproduction. Christgau found the group grander and goofier than their West Coast opposite numbers, and concluded, "Expect the masterwork this album's reputation suggests and you'll probably be disappointed, it will speak directly only to indigenous hip-hoppers. Expect a glorious human mess, as opposed to the ominous platinum product of their opposite numbers, and you'll realize the dope game isn't everyone's dead-end street." Music journalist Tura Copyright declared of the album, that this is hip-hop you won't find creeping up the Billboard charts but you will hear booming out of Jeep stereos in all the right neighborhoods. However, Enter the Wu-Tang had surprising chart success, despite its raw, underground sound. It peaked at number 41 on the Billboard 200 chart and reached number 8 on Billboard's Top R&B Hip Hop Albums chart. The album continued to sell steadily and was eventually certified platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America on May 15, 1995. Retrospect: since its release, Enter the Wu-Tang has risen in stature to become one of the most highly regarded albums in hip-hop. The album was originally given a rating of 4.5 mix out of 5 in the Source magazine in 1994, however, it was given a classic 5 mic rating in a later issue of the magazine. Similar to the Source, XXL magazine gave the album a classic rating of XXL in its retrospective 2007 issue. In the book Spin Alternative Record Guide, Enter the Wu-Tang has a critical rating of 8/10 from Spin. In 2003, Rolling Stone named the album among the 500 greatest albums of all time, asserting that East Coast hip-hop made a return in 1993. The magazine later listed it as one of the essential albums of the 90s, and 100 best debut albums of all time. The Source cited Enter the Wu-Tang as one of the 100 best rap albums, while also naming Protect Ya Neck Method Man, and CREAM among the 100 best rap singles. MTV declared it among the greatest hip-hop albums of all time, while Blender named the album among the 500 CDs you must own. Oliver Wang, author of Classic Material, the Hip-Hop Album Guide, described it as timeless an album as hip-hop has ever seen. Publications based outside of the United States have acclaimed 36 Chambers as well. Australia's Juice magazine placed it at number 40 on its list of 100 greatest albums of the 90s, and Les Inrocuptibles ranked at number 59 on a list of the 100 best albums 1986–1996. In naming Enter the Wu-Tang one of the 50 best albums of the 1990s, Pitchfork Media staff member Rollie Pemberton summed up the album's critical recognition by writing, "This is the sound of accidental fame. Something as unique and unusual as this record isn't supposed to find itself at the height of commercial viability. It's supposed to smolder underground, hidden from the view of mainstream America, who surely would not be ready for such a challenge. But America was ready, in part because this one challenged convention, not listeners. Sure, its sloppy drum programming, bizarre song structures, and unpolished sound quality disturbed commercial rap purists, but the talent was so inherent and obvious, and the charisma so undeniable, that it propelled the Wu-Tang Clan to the height of the rap game, and today stands not just as the hip-hop classic that introduced the concept of obscure thematic characters, but also bridged the gap between traditional old-school sensibilities and the technical lyricism of today. Legacy and influence: East Coast hip-hop, Enter the Wu-Tang is one of the most influential albums in hip-hop history. Adam Heimlich of the New York Press considers the album a touchstone of hardcore hip-hop, a gritty, stripped-down, dark and violent subgenre of hip-hop and the signature sound of New York City's rap scene during the mid-1990s. He writes that, the Wu-Tang Clan all but invented 90s New York rap, back when the notion of an East Coast gangster still meant Schoolie D or Cool G rap. They designed the manner and style in which New York artists would address what Snoop and Dre had made rap's hottest topics, drugs and violence. As the album helped return New York City hip-hop to national prominence, a new generation of New York rappers, many of them inspired by the Wu-Tang Clan's example, released a flurry of classic albums that later became known as the East Coast Renaissance. Enter the Wu-Tang has been recognized by critics as a landmark album in the movement. Allmusic indicates that the success of the album paved the way for Nas, the Notorious B.I.G. Mobb Deep and Jay-Z. At the time of the album's release, mainstream hip-hop was dominated by West Coast hip-hop. Enter the Wu-Tang was able to shift the emphasis away from the melodious, synthesizer-driven G-funk and restore interest into the East Coast hip-hop scene. According to one columnist, when Enter the Wu-Tang, the 36 Chambers first graced the pages of rap lore in 1993, Dr. Dre's funk-filled, West Coast gangster rap dominated the business. Though this initial dominance was difficult to overcome, Wu-Tang still managed to carve out a piece of rap history. Hip-hop production: RZA's production on Wu-Tang Clan's debut album had a profound and significant influence on subsequent hip-hop producers. The distinctive sound of Enter the Wu-Tang has been credited for creating a blueprint for hardcore hip-hop in the mid-1990s. Blackfilm.com asserts that Enter the Wu-Tang's production formula transformed the sound of underground rap into mainstream formula, and virtually changed the face of contemporary music as popstars once knew it. Many successful rap producers have admitted to the influence of RZA's beats on their own production efforts. Ninth Wonder, a producer and former member of Little Brother, is one of many whose vocal sampling styles are inspired by RZA. The album's reliance on soul music samples was novel at the time, but 21st-century producers such as The Alchemist, Kanye West and Just Blaze now rely on this technique. According to AllMusic, the production on two Mobb Deep albums, The Infamous and Hell on Earth, are indebted to RZA's early production with Wu-Tang Clan. Subsequent Wu-Tang work. Following Enter the Wu-Tang's success, the individual members of the group negotiated and signed solo contracts with a variety of different labels. Method Man signed with Def Jam, Ol' Dirty Bastard with Elektra, GZA with G-Fen Records, and Ghostface Killah with Epic Records. This expansion across the music industry was an element of RZA's stated plan for industry-wide domination, wherein all Wu releases are deemed to be 50% partnerships with Wu-Tang Productions and each Wu member with solo deal must contribute 20% of their earnings back to Wu-Tang Productions, a fund for all Wu members. On Enter the Wu-Tang's effect on the group and the music industry, the Milwaukee Journal's Aaron Justin Sapinski wrote, "The Wu showed us that a hip-hop group can control its own destiny in the tangled web of the industry. It owns publishing rights, controls its samples and has 90% influence over its career. And that control, that outlook for the future, is what makes it the best." Wu-Tang Clan have produced 4 subsequent group albums since Enter the Wu-Tang, including Wu-Tang Forever, which is certified as a quadruple platinum record. None of the subsequent Wu-Tang Clan albums have garnered the critical accolades that their debut was accorded. In 2013, the group reunited, at the behest of RZA, for an album and tour celebrating the 20th anniversary of the album's release. The album was titled A Better Tomorrow and the tour included dates throughout the United States, Europe and Russia. All original members of the group who performed on Enter the Wu-Tang participated in both the tour and reunion album, excepting Ol' Dirty Bastard, who died in 2004. Track listing: CD, tracks 1 €5 are on the Shaolin Sword side of the album and tracks 6 €12 are on the Wu-Tang Sword side. An asterisk indicates international version bonus track, vinyl/cassette. The vinyl and cassette track order is slightly different to that of the CD. Personnel, credits for Enter the Wu-Tang adapted from AllMusic. Charts, album, singles, accolades. The information regarding accolades attributed to Enter the Wu-Tang is taken from acclaimedmusic.net, except for lists with additional sources. Designates lists that are unordered. Notes. References. External links: Enter the Wu-Tang at Discogs, Rap Reviews, Back to the Laba by Steve Jaon.